What's up, everyone? My name is David Arroyo, and we are back after a 9 month of absence. I've been extremely busy. I am a father still of three kids, and I still teach. So I've been extremely busy teaching and being a dad and all the stuff, all the kind of chores that life throws at you. But we are back, and that's the most important thing. And so today I'm going to be showing you guys a assignment that I share with my students, which is kind of like a digital painting assignment. Where we design a game card and we start with some thumbnails and then work our way to the finished product. Now, we're not going to do the finished product side of things, but we are definitely going to look into how I did the thumbnails. You guys are going to be seeing the exact same demo that I've been giving my students, and it's just sped up, obviously. And I'll be giving commentary as I go. All right, let's dive right in and let's go. Okay, so what we are looking at are 12 thumbnails that I drew for a class of mine that I give in digital painting. And basically the idea is to make ideas or paint ideas for card game designs, right? For the illustrations that come with card games. So here you can see the ones that I did. However, they did not all start in color. I started my demonstration in black and white. And yeah, it's just a preferred way of mine to work. Obviously, the students don't have to mimic that exactly, but it's quite useful. And so once that is done, you can use these thumbnails to create like game card examples just like this one. Okay, so here we're going to see the beginning of the recording. Now, in total, I think this entire process was about 12 hours or so. I'm not sure. I mean, I could check the recordings, but I'm almost like, yeah, it's close to 12 hours. However, this very first video was recorded badly with the wrong frame rate. So that's why you can see me scrolling through the timeline because it's the only way to see how the creation was done sped up. So it was the only way I could do it. But that only happens on that particular video because this was recorded in many different pieces. Here you can see how it's a whole lot smoother and so forth. So I had no particular ideas or briefings for any of the drawings. So all of the drawings are made up as I go. Okay, so in my case, the demonstration that I gave was based off of things that I do, like my own universe of Reset. And so the students, they themselves can do drawings of whatever they want, right? So if they prefer creating illustrations for game cards like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or, any of these ones, they can do that, or their own IP or their own ideas like I have done here. So basically the idea is to basically just come up with your own illustrations for a card game. And first they do the 12 thumbnails, right? So once they've done the 12 thumbnails, they get to do a follow-up assignment, which is you choose your favorite thumbnail and you turn that one into a finished illustration. Now, also very important to note with that is that the students don't necessarily start with this assignment. Obviously, this is a more advanced assignment. There are many assignments that come before this in digital painting and like another module which is called Light and Color, where they learn everything about shadows and like blocking in shapes, like your values, based on shapes. So they do get quite a lot of theory before they reach to this point. Also, every individual thumbnail is basically also a little tiny illustration, and that means they need to integrate things like composition, storytelling, all that type of stuff has to be in the drawing. Right, so, and for that they have other modules that they see, which is also like they're called story design, but they also get like lessons in composition and that type of stuff. So all that stuff is taught prior to this particular assignment, so that you have an idea of where this assignment might be in the actual course. And so the whole thing is that the students do know a little bit by now, so they have already proven themselves a little bit in terms of digital painting. They have already some like experience with blocking in shapes and values and all that type of stuff. And so there you go. So that's more or less where they are now. As you can see, I am working with line art. That's my way of doing it. Not everyone, not everyone's the same way. Later on in the video, you'll see another method where I work with colors directly with colors, because these are all going to be colored towards the end. And you'll also see that sometimes the screen changes, and that's because this was recorded in many different steps. So at some points I was working with a Cintiq 16-inch by Wacom, and then another one was the one that I have at home, the 24-inch one. So you'll see the sizes of the monitors and the screen and the interface change. And also sometimes, like right now on the screen, it's a Mac recording because I have Apple at home, plus I have the PC. So yeah, that's what explains that. But anyways, so what you can see right here is that a lot of the drawings, or the way that I approach it, is very similar to the way I do my storyboard assignments, right? Because I am a story artist at heart, so you'll get to see a lot of that workflow into it. The big difference, obviously, with when I'm storyboarding is that now, in this case, because I'm making thumbnails for actual illustrations and paintings, then I will go a step further than just grayscale and all that type of stuff. But it's interesting to see that the similarities between the workflow that you'll see in other videos that I have on my YouTube channel and this one right here. Okay, and so the students have about, let's say, a week's time, maybe a little bit over, for these thumbnails, right? So they get the assignment, and then they have about a week time to, hand them in. I give the demo, I think I spread it over 2-3 days max in total, so always in little pieces, because obviously you can't just be drawing the whole time. So this is where the students basically get to draw along, follow along. They get to see me draw while I explain everything. Obviously, it goes a whole lot slower than what you're seeing on the screen. This right here is being sped up by 40 times. So it's 40 times faster than the actual speed. And so yeah, I explain everything, right? So I like tell them which shortcuts I'm using, which methods I'm using, my thoughts while I'm drawing, right? Why I am making certain decisions, why I am putting characters in that location of the frame, or this or that. And you'll also see me change up my mind, because it's a real life demo, right? So just like all other artists out there, unless you are extremely experienced, you're going to be trying things out and then reframing it and cutting and moving things around, trying different values, trying different things, so that you will also see in this demonstration right here, right? Because again, like I said, I normally never record my videos, but here in this case you get to see that live, but just sped up, right? And so yeah, so the students are following along, and at the same time they are making their own drawings and trying out their own things, and then they ask for feedback, oh, can you have a look at this, and how would you change this? And then I give another demo based on that, and so forth. So it's a bit of a back and forth when possible, and yeah, that's basically the gist of the exercise when it is ongoing. Now here we have reached close to the end of grayscales. I think I'm just modifying a few last minute things before I switch over to color. But I think it's really important. I mean, for me at least, my workflow is important to starting grayscales. And the reason for that is because in black and white, you can immediately get your values right? You can immediately see whether it works or it doesn't work.
and you can see where things have to change. So I find that extremely useful, which is something that when I start straight in color, I have it a little bit more difficult to get the values right from the start. I have to work a little bit more with like the control U, the use values, and saturation menu to modify that a little bit, and you'll see me play around with that quite a bit. I mean, especially now in colors, right? Because with colors, the thing is, I never ever or rarely use reference, right? That's one of my I yeah, it's a blessing, but at the same time a curse, right? It's a blessing because I get to learn the hard way, right? So I make my mistakes, and then once I make my mistakes and then I discover them, so because eventually I might look at reference if it's really not working, then it really sticks, right? It really stays. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that's why, because I was really like hammering my head against the problem in order to discover it, right? But at the same time, I shoot myself in the foot because it slows me down, right? Because I'm trying to solve the problem myself without having any form of reference. Then, like that's what's happening here in all these colors, right? So I have no reference. I didn't do any, I didn't create any mood boards. I didn't, nothing. I'm purely going based off of my own feeling, off of my own visual library that I have in my head. And based off of that, I'm making all these decisions. I'm like, okay, well, maybe a little bit more of that color, maybe that a little bit more saturated, maybe that a little bit more, like the values are not right here. So I'm going purely based off of feeling here. And so that's basically also the main reason why you will see that the colors will change as I progress further and further into the painting, right? When you're like coloring something based off of a reference, well, it's quite easy because the reference is already telling you what color, what value, what everything, right? You have an image right there to tell you exactly how to construct it. All you have to do is construct it beside it, right? My tip is try to never color pick from the actual image, but try to discover the image itself. The color, sorry, and take it from there, right? That's what I would recommend. But in my case, because I'm stubborn, I just don't use reference, and I really just and you can see that because when I do paint with reference, it obviously looks a whole lot better. I mean, always, because again, you have the reference, so it makes it easier. But again, don't follow my example. Use reference whenever you can. Use footage, make your mood boards, do all that stuff. I strongly recommend that. I'm just a stubborn guy that just likes to go straight ahead at things and then try things my own way and then discover and see if it works or it doesn't. And then, it's a long journey, or it might be a longer journey than when you have reference. But I do learn quite a lot from that journey. Yeah, it's one of these like you win some, you lose some type of things. But yeah, anyways, let me tell you a little bit about the methods that I am using. So I am always painting on just one layer. So every individual panel, right? So there's 12 in total. They have their own layer. And I maybe if I'm going to test something out, I might add an additional layer above it and then I merge them back together. But I like to do all my, especially when I'm doing thumbnail painting, I like to do that just all on one layer. Because like what you're seeing here, right, I just paint over the mistakes. I paint over the things that I want or don't want, or instead of like having all these layers, and I don't know, I just prefer everything on one layer, and then I can color pick within my own layer, and then you just do all my blending in that one and the same layer. It's just easier for me. Plus sometimes you see me going into the blend modes of the actual brush, not the layer. And that's how I keep it all in one and the same layer. It's actually quite useful, or it's a method that I like quite a lot. is that's in the left top corner. You can change the blend mode of your brush as well to, for example, like a multiply or to an overlay or a color or this and that. And then I paint right on top of the layer, and then it's as if I had another layer above it, but with already a multiply blend mode or that blend mode or screen or whatever I need. So also that method is quite useful. It is true that it is a bit risky because obviously you are painting on top of the one in the same layer. So if you're making mistakes, the only way to fix it is either have enough Control Z, but you'll see that I don't really use that as much either. Sometimes I'll go back in time a little bit, but not that often. Most of the time I will just, again, literally paint over it. It's just what I prefer. It's, it's just the way I always do it, or most of the time I do it. Unless I have to do something very, very like well defined, then I use many more layers, because then I have to provide more colors and this and that. I might provide you guys with a demonstration on that at some point. But anyways, now that you guys know a little bit about the method that I apply for all these things, let me tell you a little bit maybe about the individual images and maybe a little bit of the story, what I had in my mind for each illustration. Okay, so let's quickly start with the very first one. So the very first one in my head was kind of like a hacker type of character that, part of a gang where they paint their face or something like that, like looks like one of Joker's goons or something. But it's basically, yeah, like a hacker type, right? That's number one. Then under that, we have number two. That's kind of like a force, like, a military force or a police force or something of that, like that is there to like maintain order, right? They're like very like in these type of dystopian type of places, like what was the name of that game again with Mr. Friedman? I'm sure you guys know it, but I'm thinking Fallout, but it's not Fallout. It's such a famous game, everyone played it. Or a lot of people played it. Anyways, that game, which is a shooter, same thing, right? Morgan Freeman. Or no, not Morgan Freeman, but Friedman. The game is Half-Life. Yeah, just got to me. So yeah, same thing, dystopian type of force, and they have to maintain order. The third one, I was a little bit confused myself, because again, I don't really have ideas on, like, before I start painting them. I literally just start painting any random thing, whatever comes to mind. But it was kind of like again, some dude that discovers something and brings that into, like, close to him, and then is looking at it or something like that. I didn't really have a story for that. The fourth one is like an assassin, some type of assassin robot type of thing. That has a large sniper rifle. Number five is some kind of puppet master, but it's like a robotic puppet master, and instead of strings, uses like lasers and projects its puppets onto like these, light beams. Then beneath that, we have number six, which are just, a generic image of two soldiers with weapons, with some smoke. Pretend you threw a smoke bomb or something and it's smoke all over the place, and then these soldiers are walking through it. Number seven is like a group of people that are outside of these cities. They're in like these desolate lands, right? And where there's really not much, and the air is very thick, right? I painted that like on purpose to make it extra thick, like to make it feel like the air is very thick and there's this sun, and it's very like unhealthy, right? Because in the world of Reset, like I said, it's a dystopian world, and outside of the cities there's a lot of very unstable weather conditions. So yeah, then we get to the next one, number 8. Yeah, you can't see the numbers right now, but that's the one above, at the right little square next to the guy with the gun. It's a city with like a very busy city. Think of a typical cyberpunk type of city, very busy, crowded, like, market type of things. Underneath that, you can see that I've changed it now because I had two different things. But this one is a it's like a train place, you know, like where you have train and you've got train cargo, and they're going to pick up, drop off and pick up, like resources and stuff like that. It's part of a like a labor colony type of thing, right? Because in the world of Reset, you have labor colonies where people work all kinds of stuff to like get resources for the bigger cities and stuff like that. Then below that you have these like three tougher women that, you know, they have to work the streets. They live a rough life, right? They kind of like prostitutes, but at the same time, they really have to fight for their territory. It's kind of like the Moxie in Cyberpunk 2077, very similar to that, something like that. Then number 11 at the top right, that's a member of the Acid Skulls, is like an enforcer type of dude, right? Really tough and lives outside of the cities. They really are, it's like a part of a gang there called the Acid Skulls, and they're extremely violent. Some of them are also cannibals. They paint their faces with skulls as well. So they're very dangerous, and live completely secluded from, like, you know, society and that type of stuff. So, and the last one, 12, is like a robotic invading army type of thing, right? They are specialized in going into territories and committing warfare, right? So they're really good at that. They come in large numbers and they just wreck everything, right? They bomb everything, and then because they don't have lungs or anything, so they don't have to worry about breathing in toxic gas and all that stuff. So that's basically what these 12 illustrations are about. And so yeah, so they all come from within the world of Reset. They come from like ideas that I'm writing down, and stuff that I'm hoping really that at some point I might finally bring out these stories to the world. But I'm working on it, trust me. It's I know you guys don't see me much on YouTube these last few months, and that's literally because it's just very tough to combine, like, being a parent and a teacher and all this stuff. So this is one of these one-offs where finally I have a little bit of time to get this done. But yeah, there you go. But as for the story of Reset, yeah, I'm definitely hoping to share that with you guys sometime in the near future. I'm definitely working on it behind the scenes, I can promise you that. And yeah, so there you have it. These are the 12 like thumbnails that I would have handed in if I was a student, if I was participating in the assignment. This is something that I would have done. As you've noticed, there are actually 13 thumbnails that I've done because the number 9 is basically done twice. And here you're also seeing that sometimes I put in a reference image from the previous version. So I save versions for myself so that I can look at these things again and again to compare. So anyways, this is the final result of all 12. Don't forget that I also had number 9, which was also switched before that, so that was this one, and I kind of like this one also. I think I like this one a little bit more, but yeah, these are the results. And then obviously they get turned into game cards, so that's the last part of the assignment, and there you go, there you have it.
And so there you have it, everyone. I hope that you liked the video. Hopefully you've learned something new, and even better if you got inspired. So hopefully I've inspired you to go and design your own game cards. So anyways, with that said, I'm gonna have to round off here. Hopefully I will be seeing you guys in the not too distant future, as I hope to upload videos a little bit more frequently, but I'm still a dad, I am still a teacher, and I'm still very busy. So I do apologize for that, but I haven't forgotten you guys. My intention is to keep on uploading onto YouTube. Right, I'm gonna wish you guys all the best, and I will see you guys soon. Take care, guys.